Give me fuel, give me fire, give me double shot and
How's it going, everyone? My name is Chris, and welcome to today's play-by-play version of the EA Sports 500 here at the Talladega Superspeedway, the 27th race of the 2003 season. The main reason why this race takes place immediately following Richmond is mainly because, like I said before, I had a little bit of a schedule mishap, and I wasn't paying attention before the season began when I was making the schedule. So I kind of done goofed it a little bit. So this race is the 27th race instead of the 29th race, which I'm hoping everybody is okay with. I think everyone's okay with it because it's pretty much ever since I made the announcement that I messed it up, everyone's okay with it. So we're finally going into today's race here at Talladega. Before we do that, let's go on ahead and take a look at the point standings coming out of Richmond last time out and into today's race here at Talladega. So last time out at Richmond, Jeff Gordon actually won for the second time this season, becoming the first driver thus far this season to win both races of whatever race that may be in the same season, or in the season, I should say. And with that, he now boosts himself up to second place in the championship standings, 445 points down from the current points leader, Zachary Smithley. They got Jimmy Johnson in third, Ryan Newman in fourth, Matt Kenseth in fifth, Ricky Rudd in sixth, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in seventh, Kevin Harvick in 8th, Greg Biffle, Jeff Green, in 9th, and Kurt Busch, Greg Biffle's teammate, rounding out the top 10 in the points standings. Then you got Jay McMurray in 11th, Jeff Burton in 12th, Bill Elliott in 13th, Dale Jarrett in 14th, Mark Martin 15th, Tony Stewart 16th, Bob Labonte in 17th, Jerry Nadeau in 18th, Michael Waltrip 19th, and Jerry Mayfield, who had a really solid run last time out of Richmond, still in 20th, but he could be a serious contender to maybe be finishing top 15 in the points. We'll see. And then we'll scroll through the top 30, the top 40, 50, and 60 before jumping into today's race. Not really a whole lot of time, really, to mention all of it, so we're just going to scroll through it very, very quickly. But now that it's all said and done, let's go on ahead and get to the starting lineup for the start of today's race. So here we are on the starting lineup here for the EA Sports 500 at Talladega, and this one is going to be interesting because we have some returning drivers and some drivers that aren't going to be here for today's race. So we'll see them throughout the field, but in row number 1, we have Tony Stewart winning the pole for today's race. He's been doing really, really well as of late, alongside Mark Martin, who's been doing really well as well. And to Tony's outside is Ryan Newman. Row 2 today, you will find Kenny Wallace with a really good qualifying start for the 2003 season for him, and Christian Fittipaldi with his best start of the season thus far as well, in that number 33 car. Row number 3, you will find Matt Kenseth and Mike Wallace, who will not be competing in the number 09 for next season, as that car will actually be going to Joe Nemechek in 2004. And when we'll see how many more years after that, but we just know for 2004 that car is going from Mike Skinner to now Joe Nemechek. Row 4 today, you will find Jeff Gordon, one of the championship protagonists going into today's race, and Ricky Rudd to his outside. Row 5 today will be Robbie Gordon and Jay McMurray in a bit of a Davey Allison throwback with Haviland on the car, and nice little touching tribute, I must say. It's a pretty awesome looking car. Row 6 today, you will find a Casey Mears in the Fuji Mountain, I believe that's what it is. Number 41, or no, Fujifilm, excuse me, number 41 car. And to his outside, it'll be Jeff Green. Row 7 today, you will find Mark Martin on a resurgence as of late, looking to keep the momentum going, and Jerry Nadeau still looking for his first win of the season. Row 8 today, Michael Waltrip, his last shot to win on a super speedway with DEI this season. He still has a shot in 2004, but DEI thus far this season hasn't won a race. He's got the best shot along with Robbie Gordon, but he's one of the main ones. And to his outside, the return of Buckshot Jones. Row 9 today, you will find Dave Blaney and Dale Jarrett, who's been pretty well in these super speedway races as of late. Row 10, you will find the Abraham teammates of Jeremy Mayfield, who got his best finish of the season last time out of Richmond, and to his outside is Bill Elliott competing in his final race here at the EA Sports 500 at Talladega. Row 11 is the points leader, Zachary Smithley, with his best qualifying position on a super speedway race thus far this season, and the third and final main protagonist for the championship, Jimmy Johnson, to his outside. Row 12, you will find Terry Labonte, Johnson's teammate, and Ricky Craven. Row 13, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who also has a shot, one last shot rather, to win a Super Speedway race in 2003. Keep that DEI streak of winning at least one plate race in a season. He's also a driver that has a shot to do it, and today might be the day. But he's going to fight Jeff Byrne as well, who's on his outside. For 14 today, you will find John Andretti and Joe Nemechek competing in his final race here at Talladega in the number 25 car. Row 15 today, you will find Hermie Sadler and Bobby Labonte. Row 16, Tony Raines, who just announced earlier this week that he will be going to RCR in the number 33 car for 2004. And to his outside, Greg Biffle. Row 17 today, you will find Jason Keller returning the number 04 car and Kevin Harvick to his outside. Row 18 today, you will find Rusty Walls and Jimmy Spencer. Row 19 today, you will find Kyle Petty and Elliott Sadler. Row 20, it is Jack Sprague and Kurt Busch. Jack Sprague, as a matter of fact, his seat is being looked at by another driver in Ward Burton for 2004 and possibly even for the rest of the season. And he is rumored, if Joe Nemechek is to go to number 09 earlier than expected this season, it is rumored that he will go to the number 25 car for the remainder of the year and is in the hot seat to drive the 25 car in 2004. Row 21 today, you will find Sterling Marlin and the return of Mike Skinner driving the same paint scheme as his teammate Jason Keller, but he has the 4. Keller has the 04. Around the field today in row 22, it is Johnny Benson, who was also announced earlier this week that he would not be returning to the number 10 Valvoline Pontiac for 2004 for MB2 Motorsports. Now we have 8 D&Qs for today, those being Larry Foy, Ward Burton, Steve Park, Derek Cope, Carl Long, Ken Schrader, Tom Bodine, and Kirk Shelmerdine. Ward Burton, we did mention earlier that he is looking to drive the number 0 car for 2004, and the main reason for that is because Ward Burton, because he failed to qualify for this race, Bill Davis Racing cut him loose. So Ward Burton, his last race driving the number 22 Caterpillar Dodge was last time out at Richmond, and now Ward Burton's out of a ride, and Bill Davis does not have a driver to drive the 22 car for the remainder of the year, so that's going to be quite interesting, safe to say, on who is going to drive it for the remainder of 2003, because now they don't got a driver. And another big story, Steve Park in the number 31. He will not be returning to the number 31 team for 2004. However, he is looking up for other rides and other options for next season. And he is coming it seems from the rumors going around, he is coming very, very close to driving for Morgan McClure in the number 4 car for 2004. So that is very much a possibility that could happen. But in turn, for 2004, not only is Tony Raines driving the number 33 car for the team next season, and not only is Steve Park out of the 31 car for next season as well, but Jeff Green will actually switch over from the number 30 car to the number 31. However, the team will remain the same. It'll just be the team and the driver will remain the same. It's just the sponsor and the number are the only things that are changing. Instead of AOL and the number 30 being on the car for Jeff Green, it'll be Singular Wireless and number 31 car. For the number 30 car, it will be the number 31 team going to the number 30 car for 2004. And that driver will be Johnny Sauter. So Johnny Sauter is moving his way up from the Busch Series to drive the number 30 car for the Cup Series next season, which I think is pretty cool. And there isn't really much else really to kind of go off of. But we did mention Joe Nemechek driving a number 09 car for next season. The number 25 car's future is in doubt. Number 22 car's future is kind of in doubt. It is rumored that Scott Wimmer is going to drive the number 22 car for 2004. We'll see how true that might be. And still a couple other stories to kind of go off of later on in the season. The other big one, Winston will not be returning for 2004. Instead, we will be ushering a new era with the Nextel Cup Series from 2004 and beyond. With all the news and all of that out of the way, let's go on ahead and send it up to the NBC boys to lead us to green.
Fans, a 2 2/3 mile super speedway and 500 miles about to get started here at Talladega. It's the EA Sports 500, and we're 1 lap away from the green flag. Let's get some final stories on pit road before the action starts. We begin with Matt.
Alan, 2-time Talladega winner Sterling Marlin hasn't had a top 5 finish in Winston Cup in over a year, but he couldn't pick a better place to get back on track. 2 starts here, 5th and 6th. The car, a brand new body. but this car is very racy in the final practice session. Sterling thinks today could be the day. Today burns.
Matt Ryan Newman moving to the back in a used race car. That's a good thing, the used part. You see, Ryan doesn't like new cars. In fact, around town, he drives a 53 Plymouth. Now, the two cars he wrecked in restrictor plate races this year, brand new. This one, used and restored. It ran at Daytona, and they think they've got it even better here at Talladega. Marty?
Well, Dave, from 36 on back, you will find 4 of the 5 Roush cars, 3 of which had to take provisionals just to make the race, including championship leader Matt Kenseth. But Kurt Busch just told me, you know what, we're actually in a pretty good spot. After all, it doesn't really matter where you qualify at Talladega, and I've got 3 buddies back here to help me get to the front. Bill?
Marty, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has a good car, a different seat, a stronger helmet, and renewed confidence going into this race. One thing he doesn't have is this special shoe. This is a carbon fiber shoe, hard on the bottom, so you don't have to flex your toes as much. It was supposed to take away some of the pain from Earnhardt's injured right foot. He decided he didn't need it. He is using a little bigger heat shield to try and keep some of the heat away from his injured right foot. Suffered in an accident at Dover last week. That accident gave him a slight concussion. He was cleared to race Wednesday, would have qualified 11th. The car failed post-qualifying inspection. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his drive for 5 straight races at this track comes from the back of the pack. Alan?
Okay, Bill, of course, Dale Jr. and his teammate Michael Waltrip have won 8 of the last 11 of these restrictor plate races here at Daytona, if you will. Michael's thoughts a minute ago on his team radio.
Here to help you, man. I need you to help me help you. I want you to want me. My daddy always used to say, you can't help somebody that won't help themselves. So I will help myself as y'all help me.
He sounds like he's all pumped up, huh?
He sounds like he's all fired, ready to go, try to win this thing.
Michael going to come from row number 9 in the 18th starting spot. 188 laps around this 2 2/3 mile track, and we're set to go with the EA Sports 500.
Lap 1 goes the All-Tel Dodge of Ryan Newman. Tucked in behind him is the 09 of Mike Wallace, and just behind them is J.M. McMurray in that number 42 car. We mentioned the Davey Allison throwback. Got some big names up there on the outside, but on the inside, Tony Stewart, Kenny Wallace powering through. Got some help from Christian Fittipaldi in the 33, Matt Kenseth in the 17. And then all the way back, you'll see Jimmy Johnson, the 48, just behind Casey Mears. And on the outside, you'll see Jeff Gordon just behind Mark Martin, the 6. We forgot to mention this earlier, but the pit window will be around lap 25 to 35. Tires will be lap 32 to 35. And fuel, you can go lap 25 to maybe either lap 30 or lap 32. So that's going to be huge for a lot of these drivers, because maybe they might be able to stretch it. We'll kind of have to wait and see when we get to those pit stops, which are going to be about 22 laps from now. They'll start about 22 laps from now, but as you can also tell, longer race today, up from the original 47 laps, I believe that's what it was, in the first Talladega race back in the spring. The first Talladega race is 47 laps, this one's 94, kind of like the Pepsi 400, upped it by another 25% to make it a 50% lap race. You see Tony Stewart kind of losing Kenny Wallace a little bit on the bottom. Find it pretty hilarious that both Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman have a Wallace brother behind him. Tony's got Kenny Wallace and Ryan's got Mike Wallace. And the main thing for these drivers, it's early in the race. It's only 3 laps in. We're on lap 4 right now. The main question that these guys got to ask When do they make the move to grab the lead? Because it's obvious that grabbing the lead is probably going to be the more difficult part for this race, because you never really know what's going to happen around Talladega. You don't know if a crash is going to happen. You don't know if strategy is going to play a factor. You don't know about any of that. But what you do know is that you want to get to the front, but you just need to have not only the right person to get you to the front, but also if you can rely on them the whole race to be tucked in behind you and to keep you up out front and keep not only just you, but themselves out front, and just kind of depends, really. Christian Fittipaldi in the 33 car actually kind of making a little bit of a charge on the 09. The outside kind of chipped up a little bit. Don't want to say anything too much, but if you look at that outside, we're not talking about Michael Waltrip in the Napa car, but we're talking about the other Napa car. It's that 80 of Zachary Smithley. He's got a lot to prove for today. Right now, he's on the outside by his lonesome. The middle and bottom each have a pretty formulated line. But Zach is just able to just rip it around the outside. He's already passed Johnson. He's going to take it to Gordon. Meanwhile, up at the front, Tony Stewart and Kenny Walls kind of pull clear of Ryan Newman in the 12 a little bit. Does Kenny kind of peek out a little bit? Doesn't look like it. Jeff Green, as a matter of fact, in that AOL Chevy, jumped in front of Zach. Doesn't look like they'll really go any farther ahead. It might actually push Zach back a little bit. Maybe Zach, that's kind of what Zach wanted, because he wasn't really getting any help. Here goes Kenny to the outside of Tony. Jumps it right in front of the number 12 of Ryan Newman. Christian Fittipaldi will get right to the back of Tony Stewart. Tony so far has done pretty well to hold the lead, but here comes Kenny in the 23, having his moment in the sun. But watch that outside. Oh, they almost went 4 wide between Michael Waltrip and Jeff Green, and I think it was Mark Martin and Buckshot Jones were going to be the 2 on the bottom. Meanwhile, that 80 of Zachary, he's on the outside alone, all by his lonesome. Once again, look at the gap, though, between Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon. There's a huge gap. Nade's going to fill the hole. At least one of them. Kenny Wallace got the lead. He drops right in front of Tony Stewart. Zachary is just continuing to roll that higher line. He's already in the top 10. He's going to make it the top 5, I think, here in a minute if he can keep it going. He needs help, though, because it ain't really going to work out as well. That's going to be Zach's main problem, is he's just not going to be able to get to the front with no help. You're going to need help if you're going to get to the front, and Zachary so far does not have it. However, the middle line and the bottom line do, but they're kind of all over the place. See, Tony is actually kind of peeking out up a little bit to the outside of Kenny Wallace here. Kenny was actually kind of riding the yellow line a little bit. Remember, that yellow line is out of bounds. You go below it, you get black flag. We're coming up on lap 8 right now. So let's go on ahead and do our usual one-lap tribute to the late Kyle Busch. There was a lap 8 tribute to the late Kyle Busch, who won here at Talladega twice. Once in 2008, and his most recent win at Talladega 2023, the spring race. But you see up at the front, they're kind of going 3 wide a little bit between Kenny Wallace, Tony Stewart, and Zachary Smithley. Zach finally got the help he needed to get to the front, courtesy of Mark Martin, the Viagra Ford. Jerry Nadeau is just behind him, and funnily enough, Zachary's boss, but also championship rival Jeff Gordon is back there with Bobby Labonte and Jimmy Spencer. Look at how much they're dancing these cars around in turns 3 and 4. They're like all over the place on the bottom and the middle lines. Makes you wonder if maybe some of these cars are a little bit loose, maybe a little bit tight. You never really know. Kenny is able to hold the lead a little bit, and he can barely eke out Tony to lead that lap. If that was the end of the race right there, that would have been a photo finish for the ages. As we pay attention to Kenny Wallace up at the front. He's got the rookies of Christian Fittipaldi and Jamie McMurray behind him. He's kind of leaving the bottom open, kind of leaving the door for Fittipaldi to make a move. He's just barely in front of him. And you see Zach on the outside, pushed by Mark Martin, the 6. He drops right to the inside. And Zachary Smithley, the points leader, but also with a lot to prove going into Talladega, he's out front. We won't hold it for long, though. Michael Waltrip, Bill Elliott, and Mark Martin will go right around the outside. Mark jumps down to the middle. Will he jump down in front of Zach? There he goes. Just like the Daytona 500, the Aaron's 499 at Talladega the first time around, and the Pepsi 400 earlier in the year, when these guys make a pass on someone, they vie for the bottom. The bottom line is going to be your best friend all race, mainly towards the end of the race, but it's going to be your best friend no matter what. Bill Elliott fighting back on the outside, competing in his final race here at Talladega. Well, at least full-time, that is. For his schedule for 2004, he might go part-time. He has thrown around the idea of going part-time. He couldn't pass Mark Martin, but he'll drop down in front of Zach. Oh, they make contact a little bit, Zach. Holy moly. That was too close to call. Too close for comfort between Zachary Smithley and Bill Elliott. Thankfully, both drivers are okay. They come out unscathed. No one crashed. We're all good. But Bill goes to the outside, trying to get Mark Martin. Zachary continuing a big string of momentum as he got a big draft from Bill. He's going to take it to the outside, but unfortunately, he won't pass him coming off the corner. Bill, actually, he does pass him off the corner. Bill just kind of tucked in line just behind Christian Fittipaldi, so up the inside a little bit. Kenny was behind Zach. Now he drops down behind Fittipaldi again. Now a little bit of a train, led by the 2002 championship protagonists of Mark Martin and Tony Stewart. Tony jumps to the outside of Mark Martin, trying to make a move, going on 4. He's going to have Zachary just behind him. Will Zach stay behind him? No, he will not. Here comes Zach again, going 3 wide for the lead once more. Bill stays behind Tony. Zach is all alone on the outside once again, and Mark Martin will lead that time. Mike Wallace jumps to the outside with Zach. Ryan Newman and Jimmy Spencer go with, oh man! I think the 80 of Zach and the 9 of Bill Elliott made a little bit of contact as they went into 1. I think Bill Elliott kind of got a little bit of an arrow push from Tony Stewart as they were going up the track. And internally, I think Bill was just kind of following Tony, and he got into the side of Zach. They both keep going, though. Still going. Oh, wow, Mike Wallace, he went really high in the corner. I think he's really tight. Look at the amount of momentum. Look at the gap between him and Zachary now. He lost so much time that now a gap opens up in between Bill Elliott and Ryan Newman as Zach just drops down in front of him, or in front of Newman, drops in line. Tony actually grabs the lead from Mark Martin up at the front. So I think the outside line compared to the first time he came to Talladega and even at both Daytona races, I think the outside might not be well suited for this car so far. Everyone who's on the outside is kind of getting tight, and I don't think a single person is liking it too much. See the back of the field, they're kind of disorganized a little bit. Bill Elliott in the 9 trying to figure out which line to go with. The outside didn't check up, but he does get put in the middle. Talk about Christian Fittipaldi in that 33 car, just tucked in behind the 2 veterans of Mark Martin and Tony Stewart, the defending series champion. Tony isn't really going to be able to compete for the championship towards season's end, but at the very least, he could try to get a win as they're going to go 3 wide for the lead once again between Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, and Zachary Smithley. Smithley barely gets the lead, but it gets given right back to Tony Stewart because once again, Zach just doesn't have the help on the outside to be able to make that pass work. Unfortunately, you can't really make a pass work if you can't even continue to run down the back straightaway or any form of momentum. Got a little bit of help from Kenny Wallace in the 23. Does Zach drop down in front of Mark Martin? Ooh, he gets in front of him. It worked out. Doesn't get in front of Tony, though. Tony will lead him coming off of 4. Pushed by the 33 of Christian Fittipaldi. And now, as he jars his head down the front stretch to the start-finish line, we'll see a lap 16 tribute to the spring winner, Greg Biffle. There was a lap 16 tribute to the late great Biffle. Zachary Smithley led that time, fighting Mark Martin, Biffle's teammate. Well, Zach kind of caught the bottom a little bit, but he's going to go right out front. And as you listen to the crowd reaction, 150,000 Alabama fans just got off their seats because Zachary Smithley, racing for grandma, is out front trying to block Mark Martin, but Mark keeps the run going. He drops in front of Bill Elliott. But these fans know what Zach is fighting for. They know the story. They know what happened last year. And their main man is going to be that Napa Chevy of Zach. Here he goes. To the outside of Mark Martin. Pushed by Bill Elliott. 150,000 fans cheering him wildly. Smithley out front at Talladega. Talk about the love from the Alabama fans. You see Mike Wallace getting the push from Kenseth to grab the lead. Smithley kind of jumps in the middle. I think he tried to prevent Mike from getting in front of him, but he uses a draft to get in back to the inside of Mike Wallace, and back out front goes Smithley, pushed by Mark Martin, who's riding that yellow line oh so much. There's still a long ways to go, but even though we're in Earnhardt country, and Dale Jr. might be the main guy that these Alabama fans might cheer for, I think they made an exception for one day only to cheer for that number 80 of Zachary Smithley, who jumps right to the outside of Mike Wallace to block him. He gives up the bottom to Mark Martin and Bill Elliott, but at the very least, he was able to hold off the hard-charging Mike Wallace. And to be honest with you, Zachary likes running that higher line. Anyways, Jesus moly! The closing rate that Zachary had on Bill Elliott was so fast that you wouldn't even think that Bill Elliott checked up, but he did. And I'm not too sure why Bill Elliott checked up, but he did anyways. Slowed up the middle, almost caused a crash, I'm pretty sure. Holy moly! But Mark Martin back out front with Christian Fittipaldi, the rookie, behind him. Tony Stewart in third and Jeff Green in fourth. Now to the outside. Almost four wide again. Smithley and Bill Elliott are just kind of going at it right now. I think Bill is going to show his displeasure to Smithley because he ran into the back of him in 3 and 4 a lap ago. He's going to push Smithley back a little bit. But in turn, Bill Elliott actually got the better end of the deal out of it, because right now he's up to fourth just behind Jeff Green, but not for long. Look at the run Smithley has because the middle keeps stacking up. Kenseth, unfortunately, not able to stay behind him. But Mark Martin holding the lead for now, just over Jeff Green in the 30, who's barely going to eke out ahead, and Jeff Green will lead that time. Jeff Green leading his first laps here in the 2003 season for a minute. Been a little bit since we've seen Jeff Green out front in one of these races. But with his future now locked in, he knows what he's going to be doing for 2004. He knows the car he's going to be driving for. He knows the team he's going to have. He knows the sponsor he's going to have. He's got renewed vigor, and he's going to continue that all the way to the end of the season. Man, Michael Waltrip back there and Jeff Gordon, they each both washed up the track at 3 and 4, almost smacked the wall. As you see now, Zachary dropped down behind Jeff Green. That leaves the outside open to Nadu, Kenseth, and McMurray. Look at that number 42 Havoline Dodge, as Fittipaldi will lead that lap. He'll gain 5 bonus points. Man, good job for Christian Fittipaldi. They gained some to get a lap lead. Oh man, they did not stay organized on the bottom. Tony will get back up to him, but they did not stay organized, guys. They went into 1. The middle line, I think, held a better formation than the bottom did. The outside only has 3 cars, courtesy of Nadu, Kenseth, and McMurray. Well, originally it had Nadu, and well, Nadu kind of fell back a little bit. But it seems like that McMurray is still going to keep that momentum going. Oh man, he's running super high. They are getting really tight. Whoever's on the outside, they are getting really tight as they go into 3. And it kills their momentum so much. I think the guys in the bottom and the middle are going to try everything they can to avoid the the outside line. As you see, 3 wide for the lead again. As you see Zachary going for it, and he grabs it, and he leads that time. But Fittipaldi and Jeff Green came back on him. Look at Mark Martin. He is staying behind that 80 of Zachary Smithley so much. Mark Martin is not leaving that back bumper of Zachary. He wants to get him to the front, and he wants to go to the front as well. Zach doesn't want to leave Mark Martin, it looks like. That's how they're going to have a shot at Fittipaldi and Tony Stewart. As there you have it. They both might drop to the middle. Looks like they do. That time in 3 and 4 actually looked pretty good between all the drivers, including the outside line. Now they have McMurray, Kenseth, Newman, and Kenny Wallace in the 23 behind. Talk about Christian Fittipaldi in the 33. Hasn't competed full-time at all this season. Been driving the number 33 car. That 33 car will, in fact, go to RCR, courtesy of Tony Raines driving that car. Fittipaldi is looking for a ride next season. We don't know if he'll get it, but he just might. But right now, he's leading laps at Talladega. Help from Tony Stewart behind, and even Ricky Rudd, too. Might even see that Virginia Tech number 02 of Hermie Sadler. Both Sadlers of Hermie and Elliott are in this race. Elliott's far back. He's just at the back of this pack, just in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. As we look to see Zachary drops it down right in front of Christian Fittipaldi once again. As he takes the lead, Fittipaldi jumps to the outside. He had a run, and he's going to take it, but Zach blocks it as they come off of 4. Forces him in the middle, but it seems like Green's going to go with, and they're going to leave Mark Martin to dry on the outside. Wow, that's new. Back out front, Zachary Smithley in the 80. This is still a pretty big pack of cars. There's only 5 cars that are not a part of this pack, and they're in a tiny little pack of their own just behind these leaders. But these drivers in this pack, they got to be wary because pit stops are coming up. The pit stops are open. The pit window is open. So lap 25 is when it opens. We'll see who's the first takers. As Jeff Green just powered around the outside to take the lead from Zachary. They're so disorganized everywhere you look at the front. But here goes Tony. Tony's the first one to take it. Tony's the first one down pit lane right now. Seems like I think Tony was the only one to take it. As the rest of this pack just decided to stay out, including the leaders of Jeff Green, Zachary Smithley, Christian Fittipaldi, and Ricky Rudd. Fittipaldi had a run, and he took it to the outside of Smithley, and he wants this lead back. Fittipaldi may actually be a real contender for this win. The main thing that all these drivers want to do is get to the front and stay at the front. That was Zach's mojo in that number 80 car. We saw a bunch of other cars on pit road. It was that pack of 5 that were behind the leaders that came down pit road. Now we're going to see who else is going to take it. As the leader, Jeff Green, comes in. Mark Martin stays out. And we think a bunch of cars just came down pit road. And not that much, only 5. Jeff Green, Zachary Smithley, Mike Wallace, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And there was one more that we couldn't quite make out who it was. As we look at the bottom right of the screen, it was Jerry Nadeau who was the other one that came into the pits. So these 5 were this next batch to come in. Tony was the first one, then the 5 behind the lead, or the 5 drivers that lost the lead pack came in. They just came off of pit road. You see 2 of them in front of the leaders of Jay McMurray now, who takes the lead in that Havoline Dodge. Little Davey Allison throwback for this race. As it seems like it's going to be kind of a fuel-only stop for these drivers. No tires, I don't think it's going to be taken. So those first 5 that came down pit road, they're already out and away. Now let's see who out of this pack is going to come down pit road next. Will Mark Martin take the gamble? Yes, he does. And he's going to bring a huge pack of cars down pit road with him as Jay McMurray, Matt Kenseth, Buckshot Jones, and Casey Mears, along with Michael Waltrip, stay out. Look at that bundle of cars on the bottom right of the screen coming down pit road. Led by Mark Martin, the 6. Look all the way back to Kurt Busch, Elliott Sadler, Jimmy Spencer. Then Mayfield, Gordon, Biffle, Raines, Labonte, Nemechek. Both Labontes, as a matter of fact. And you see Christian Fittipaldi on pit road. Ricky Rudd's on pit road. Robbie Gordon on pit road. At the top of this, top of the screen, you see Mike Skinner, the 4 car coming out of the pits. Right in front of Buckshot Jones. You see the bottom right, all the guys leaving the pits. Skinner kind of getting up to speed, but I think this might work out for Buckshot as we think Buckshot and another group is going to come down pit road. As Buckshot does take it, he brings Kenseth, McMurray, Newman, and a bunch more with him. Waltrip, Mears, and Hermie Sadler stay out on the track. Harvick, Keller, Burton, Ricky Craven, John Andretti, Kenny Wallace all come down the road. Man, you saw the 00 Buckshot just cut across Matt Kenseth to get to his pit stall. He was all the way on the outside, and he just cut all the way down. Had no, for whatever reason, no reason to kind of lift for the guys in front. As you see, Casey Mears and Michael Waltrip and Hermie Sadler actually were catching the slow car of Tony Raines. Waltrip I think actually went below the yellow line to pass him. But I think Waltrip is okay because he won't get a black flag for that. He's not really for, as Raines wasn't for position, so I think he'll be okay. As Waltrip does come down pit road, he's the only one though to come down. So Hermie Sadler and Casey Mears stay out. Casey Mears will continue to lead. As we're going to see some more drivers come out of the pits. Now this is going to be crucial, as Casey Mears is now behind Jeff Gordon, so we're kind of thinking that because he's behind Jeff Gordon, he might be lifting a little bit to save us some fuel. Actually, maybe not. He's going to go right to the inside because he saw the 9 of Bill Elliott and the 16 of Greg Biffle. Actually dropped all the way to the inside. That's actually kind of interesting to see him do that. But now they kind of formed their own little group, so I'm thinking Casey Mears might be coming down at a different time, considering the fact that now that he's behind these guys, yes, he's going to get some drafting help, but he can kind of lift in the draft. As never mind, he's going to come down pit road along with Hermie Sadler. The two leaders are coming down pit road, and these are the last two that needed to come down to complete the cycle. Because we don't think there's anybody else that's going to come down pit road at any point soon. As we mentioned this earlier, it's kind of a few only first stop. It might be the same for the second stop, but then you got to think about tires for the third one, as we're kind of thinking there's going to be 3 stops in this race, so it might be fuel, and then tires for the next bit. And you see Hermie Sadler was out before Mears, and now Mears exits his pit stall. Hermie Sadler's just behind him, but Casey Mears will come off of pit road. He'll still remain the leader, now with Hermie Sadler just behind him. So Hermie Sadler just behind him as they come out of the pits. There you see the leaders, led by the 80 of Zach. Zachary actually got the best end of the deal right there, as he's going to be the leader of this pack of cars, this first pack of 5. Then there's that group behind. But remember, Casey Mears coming out of the pits. Oh, Buckshot just stays kind of behind the 41. I think he was kind of getting a draft, and it kind of worked. The 0-2 of Hermie Sadler is going to be parked right in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. It might not all be too bad, but you got to remember, when you're coming out of the pits, you're blending on the tracks. So these drivers, they got to pay attention. You don't pay attention, crashes will ensue. As now up front, it is Zachary Smithley leading at Talladega with the 43 of John Andretti behind him. The Robert Yates, teammates of Dale Jarrett and Elliott Sadler. Then there's Buckshot being passed by Jeff Green. Then the 15 of Michael Waltrip and the 20 Tony Stewart. First round of pit stops, all good. See that second pack actually catching him. Now led by Casey Mears in the 41. Hermie Sadler didn't even lose that much time anyway, so he's pretty much all good now. The back of this train, it is the 99 of Jeff Burton. There's still quite a chunk of cars still in contention for this lead, but the main thing to kind of keep note of, and the main thing to pay attention to, the 3 championship protagonists. There's only one of them in this group that is currently leading those 3, and that man is Zachary Smithley in the 2, or in the 80, in second place, just behind Buckshot. But he's fighting for this lead, and he's fighting for this win. His championship rivals, Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon, they're not in this pack. Johnson's in his own pack just behind this group. You see, John Andretti was actually down below the yellow line. They see Bill Elliott. Zachary and Dale Jarrett going to go up the track. Andretti can't go anywhere because Sadler blocked him in, but Sadler still checked up for Bill Elliott. kind of makes you wonder if there was even anything really worth doing with doing that. Meanwhile, the front two is now Zachary Smithley in lead and Buckshot Jones in second. Does Buckshot have a run? He does not. Zachary Smithley keeps that lead as they come now to lap 34 of 94. They complete one more lap. They'll have 60 laps left in this race. 60 circuits around Talladega, this long track. Right now, Bill Elliott is a lap down to that 9 car. However, on the outside, just behind him is Tony Stewart and Robbie Gorin in the 1. So DEI with the 1 of Robbie Gorin, the 15 of Mike Waltrip, and the 8 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. They're still in this pack right here. Jared just went all the way to the outside. Kind of checked up a little bit. Buckshot jumps to the outside. Zach kind of blocked the run a little bit. Not too much, but he blocked it a little bit. See Robbie Gorin in the Pennzoil 1 car. He's got a shot. He's got a chance today to win this race and get DEI's first plate win of 2003. They haven't won a plate race thus far this season. They've come close many times. They locked up the front row in the 500. Didn't do anything after that, pretty much. Well, I say that, but Michael was in contention for the win for the Pepsi 400. Dale Jr. got caught up in an early crash in the Aaron's 499, along with Michael Waltrip. And Robbie Gorin's been mainly the main guy for DEI on the play race. To see Zachary going to the outside to block Andretti, now jumps back to the inside, getting in front of Robbie Gorin. Little throwback to Daytona earlier in the year, in the Daytona 500, where Zachary and Robbie Gorin actually got together and ruined Smithley's race. As now they're catching Sprague and Petty. Zach goes to the outside, and that's going to stack up the inside. The outside is going to go. Whoever's in the middle is going to get stuck behind Petty, and it's going to be Dale Jarrett. But Buckshot Jones, Tony Stewart, Elliott Sadler, and John Andretti got out of that unscathed. Those 5 cars break away from the pack behind them. But for how long? They don't have another lap car to catch for a minute. But now, side by side for the lead is Tony Stewart and Zachary Smithley. Zachary really hasn't needed any help getting by cars. He has been able to keep it up at the front. He's been able to just kind of find his way to the front all on his own. And if he does need help, it's mainly towards the end. As right now, the buckshot behind him, that might be huge for Smithley, but here comes Sadler outside, pushed by Tony Stewart in the 20. Sadler's actually going to take it to Smithley as they head down into 1 and 2. Man, Bill Elliott ran that outside line very close to the wall. Surprised he didn't smack it or anything. However, as they come off the corner, a little bit of a breakaway from the first group to the second group. First one led by Smithley, the next one led by Elliott. These drivers really can't make a run to try to grab the lead. Here comes Buckshot. He's going to try something here. Goes to the outside as Smithley block it. He blocks it coming off the corner. Oh, he's continuing to block, and it doesn't work out too well for him. Well, I mean, it did, because it shoves Buckshot all the way to the outside of the track. He drops in front of Robbie Gorin, the 1 car. That works really, really well for Smithley. As now he's got Robbie Gorin behind him. We mentioned the Daytona 500 where they both got into one another. Here in the first race at Talladega, Smithley refused to push Robbie to the front, or to the win, rather. He tried going for the win himself, and it did not work, and Robbie and Smithley did not at all get the win. But they did get good finishes out of it. You see Smithley blocking Robbie Gorin, drops in front of Mark Martin, who's had a really good showing on these play races from the Daytona 500 to even the first Talladega race in the spring to, well, last Daytona race in the summer in July, where he was competing up at the front. One of the main contenders, in contact between him and Ken Schrader, put him out of contention for the win. Didn't put him out of the race, but it put him out of contention for the win. As now they're catching Benson. This was the other driver we had a feeling they were going to catch sooner rather than later, and they did. Smithley, Martin, and Robbie go around him. Everybody on the bottom got cut behind Benson. Robbie pushing Mark Martin past Smithley. Now Mark, does he drop to the inside? Yes, he does. Or maybe not. He might be trying to get back in front of Robbie, but I think Robbie's got help from the 38 to keep the momentum going. And now they do. It's going to be the main thing that these drivers got to pay attention to. Where the runs are going, where the runs are coming from, where to take them, how to proceed with them, and you're all good. You're all set in stone. Robbie trying to get just eke out a little bit of Mark Martin. He gets that push from Elliott Sadler. He'll lead that time. It's exactly what Robbie Gordon wanted. With his career resurgence, 3 wide for the lead. Smithley actually, Mark Martin left the door open for Smithley, and Smithley took it. He's back out front. We're about to talk about Robbie Gordon for a second, and Smithley just went 3 wide with Robbie and Martin, and Smithley came out on top with the lead. Now he's side by side with Robbie. Now Smithley fully out ahead of Robbie Gordon in the 1 car. He doesn't have help from Elliott Sadler. Mark Martin is not anywhere close to push Robbie. Smithley in, trying to keep Benson behind him. Dale Jarrett peels off down pit road. Wow, this soon? It's only been 15 laps since the pit window's first open. The pit window isn't even open right now. The pits are open, but the pit window isn't. But Dale Jarrett's the first one to take it, shockingly. We mentioned earlier about Robbie Gordon, with him leading that lap, getting those 5 extra bonus points. Robbie Gordon, after having a bit of a career resurgence as of late, his main goal towards the end of the year now is to try to finish at least top 25, maybe top 20 by season's end. Because Robbie Gordon thinks he can do it. And if Robbie Gordon thinks he can do it, that's big. And this race just might be the race, but we got a lot of races coming up that he's done well at in the past. He just might show his strength once again as you see more cars peeling down pit road. This time it is the 2 lappers of Kyle Petty and Jack Sprigg, but also Christian Fittipaldi came down with. In turn, though, it stacked up Jerry Nadeau and the guys behind. So now they've lost this pack of cars because they had to check for the guys pitting. Robbie Gordon run all the way on the outside, all by his lonesome. Andretti leaving the gap open for Robbie to come down. I think Robbie might take it. He does. Here comes Spencer coming out of the pits, though. They're going to have to weave their way around that number 7 Dodge. Who's gonna, is Smithley already went to the outside, but will Benson make a move? He can actually. He's stuck because Ricky Rudd just trapped him in on the inside. He's gonna stack at the bottom again, and it stacks up Ricky Rudd too. Seems like the more these guys try to push each other down in front of a slow car, down behind a slow car, excuse me, to try to slow them up, they actually end up slowing themselves up in the process as well. It kind of pushed Zach a little bit out, or pushed him out a little bit further. However, Elliott and Sadler actually kind of got back up with him. See Jay McMurray on the outside, help from Hermie Sadler, now with Ricky Rudd and Kurt Busch just behind. They're going to try to make a charge. See Smithley just in front of Bill Elliott in the 9 car. Sadler running in the middle. Originally had help from Andretti, but not anymore. However, Elliott's brother Hermie pushing Jay McMurray out front to the lead. So now Jay McMurray, the rookie, and that beautiful looking Havoline Davey Allison tribute out front leads here at Talladega with Zachary Smithley, his Rookie of the Year contender, behind him. Both drivers have won a race this season. Well, Smithley dropped down right in front of Elliott Sadler. I think he wanted McMurray to go with him. McMurray follows him. It's a good thing for Smithley. He got McMurray to follow him down right to the inside. That's what Smithley wanted to do. Oh, but McMurray actually went to the outside, or went to the middle, I should say. Look at this 3 wide again. Another run for Robbie Gordon, the 1. Smithley keeping his momentum going on the inside. Both Robbie and Smithley getting pushed by Sadler. Smithley with Elliott, Robbie with Hermie. And it's going to work out for Smithley more than it worked out for Robbie. So come off of 4. We know a couple of drivers already came down pit road, but it seems like nobody within this pack has come down. Also, that group that lost the leaders originally caught them back. Slow cars probably helped enhance it. You see, these drivers caught Christian Fittipaldi, and it stacks to the inside once more. The 6 of Mark Martin was actually, I think, trying to get around Christian Fittipaldi, and it didn't work out as well as he wanted it to. But Smithley and Sadler, the two lead lap cars, and the lapper of Jimmy Spencer got around the 33 of Fittipaldi. Now they're catching Jimmy Johnson, Smithley's main title protagonist, or antagonist. They go 3-1, they split Johnson through the middle. And look who are the two that came out ahead. It is the 7 of Jimmy Spencer and the 80 of Zachary Smithley. Both drivers with no help as they come off 4. And McMurray in the 42 car we saw back there, he came down pit road. He pits on lap 45. With how this race is going to play out, this might actually split the strategy. Smithley leads that time, but Robbie Gorn pushed by Mark Martin, and first appearance of Jason Keller in this race. Jason Keller now a player out in front. Robbie Gorn holding the lead now with Mark Martin just behind him. They're coming up on a few more lap cars. There's Mike Wallace in the 09 coming out of the pits. Oh, Smithley went to the inside. I think he was trying to maybe see if he can sneak into the inside of Robbie Gorn, trying to pass him, but Wallace is going to be right in front of Robbie Gorn. Smithley picked the right moment to go to the outside, and it worked out well for him. That doesn't give Smithley the lead, but it does give Mark Martin the lead. Mark will drop in front of Smithley. Had a feeling, like we said, once these drivers get the lead, they drop to the inside. They take it. When they see that bottom line is open, they will take it. So now in this group, there are 4 lap cars in it. Jimmy Spencer, Johnny Benson, Christian Fittipaldi, and Mike Wallace. The main reason, they were coming out of the pits. Jason Keller all the way on the outside by himself. Whoa! Mark Martin just like, I think Zachary was trying to bump drive Mark Martin, which with these cars, you can't quite do that. Trying to push Mark Martin a little bit, and about took Mark around. But now it's a Roush Racing 1-2 with Mark out front and Kurt Busch following suit in second, but they're catching the slow car of Ricky Craven. They got to pay attention, though. Mark Martin's going to be stuck behind him. Not Kurt Busch and Smithley, though. Smithley going to the outside. They're going to be 3 wide for the lead once again as Smithley leads once more. These drivers still have to pit. Oh, man, what in the world was that? Kurt Busch got into the right front corner panel of Ricky Craven in the 32. The fact that none of them crashed or wrecked is shocking to me. I thought a big crash was going to happen right there. My God. These drivers are actually catching another group as Smithley goes to the outside of Kurt Busch. I don't know if he's trying to take the spot away or what, but they are catching the slow cars of Sprague, Petty, and Dale Jarrett. You see Kurt Busch coming down pit road. Smithley stays out. Bob Labonte went with Kurt. Smithley stays out. He'll continue to lead. Now with Joe Nemechek at second, Mark Martin in third, and Jason Keller in fourth. As we look to the bottom right of the screen, are the drivers coming in? See, there's Kurt, Tony's down pit road, Harvick, Bill Elliott, Bobby Labonte, Robbie Gorn, and Tony Stewart, like we said before. Now, the second stop is going to be the main question. Do you take tires or do you take fuel? What's the main call? What's the main thing you want to do on this second stop? Because you never really know what these drivers want when they come down pit road. Ryan Newman is also down pit road as well. He's a little bit late to the party, but he did kind of come down. It looks like by his lonesome. He's got to kind of get fuel and get out as fast as he can so he can maybe catch those, or stay with those lead lap cars or catch another pack. As Smithley, Martin, Nemechek, and Jason Keller, continue to stay out, as does Casey Mears in the 41 behind him. See Smithley jump into the outside. There's some slow cars on the bottom. We might be thinking Smithley might be coming in this time. But he does want to get out in front of these guys. And he does. He's out front of all these lap cars and in front of the lead lap cars. Look at that big group of cars that they're catching up on. The first one being Bill Elliott in the 9. Smithley might not even have to worry about him. Because Smithley right now, I think, might be coming down pit road, but it's going to pose a problem, I think, for these guys as they're catching them, because they're coming at him with a rate of speed, huge rate of speed. You see Smithley dive to the pits. Johnny Benson, follows suit with him. He hands the lead over to the 6 of Mark Martin. As it looks to the bottom right, Smithley's in. Johnny Benson came in the 10 car. Looks like it might be a fuel-only stop for Smithley, as it is pretty much for everybody else, I think. is now Mark Martin in the 6 car, excuse me. They called Bill Elliott, they passed Bill Elliott, but now they have he has Chris Fittipaldi, Jack Sprague, and Jimmy Spencer just ahead of him. And even on the inside, it's a little bit worse for wear for him because he's got the 88 of Dale Jarrett there and Kyle Petty as well. But now Joe Nemechek in the 25. He's now out front. Imagine the story that could be told in his final season, or his final season for the number 25 team at Hendrick Motorsports. Imagine on his way out the door, Joe Nemechek wins here at Talladega. Imagine that. He's out front, leading laps though. He's one of those cars that didn't pit. So the top 4 is as follows: Joe Nemechek, Mark Martin, Casey Mears, and Jason Keller. Nemechek, the only Hendrick car that hasn't pitted so far. His teammates Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and Terry Labonte all have. They're re-catching the 7 of Jimmy Spencer, who kind of pulled away a little bit. We'll slow him up too much, though. As Spencer did have momentum, as you see Petty going to the outside. Petty and Spencer are going to be fighting for position. Joe's just going to try to stay behind him as long as he can to try to savor some field to see if he can maybe take less on the final stop. That's mainly what these drivers are thinking about doing. Trying to stay behind the guy for as long as they can to try to maybe, just maybe, take less fuel on the final stop, which the final pit window will open on lap 70. And there'll be 25 laps to go by that point. So with 25 to go, these drivers, they want to put as little amount of fuel as they can. Enough fuel for 25 laps, but if they could stretch it and they don't have to put that much fuel in, then that'll be all she wrote for some of these guys. You see the outside line, once again, they just get tight. They just get tight in the corner. There's like no other way of explaining it. They just get really, really tight as they go off into 1 and 2. Or into 3 and 4, excuse me. It's also been happening down in 1 and 2 as well. And you see this pack of cars with some of the leaders in it. I've actually caught this second pack, led by Jeff Green in the 1, or the 30, the 30. Alternate timeline, not the actual timeline. There's not really much else that I don't think Joe Nemechek can really do in this scenario. He is out in front still ahead of Mears, Martin, and Jason Keller. But a pit stop is still waiting. 2 pit stops, but 1 for this run is still waiting for those 4. Thought for a minute that Joe was actually going to take it. He rolled the bottom all the way around, and you kind of had the feeling that he was going to go to the pits, but not this time. He didn't take it. Not really much that these guys can really do, to be honest. Because these lap cars, they're kind of in the way for some of them, like Mark Martin all the way on the outside. But for guys like Joe Nemechek at the 25 and even Casey Mears and Jason Keller, this works out perfectly for the 3 of them because they can get to pit road easily. Mark Martin, on the other hand, cannot. Plus, Mark Martin backs off a little bit, gets his car to the bottom, and he pits with these 3 because we're thinking that Joe Nemechek's going to pit this time. Casey Mears and Keller might go with. There goes Joe Nemechek down pit road. And he's all by his lonesome, actually. Never mind. We actually thought he was going to come down with Keller and Mears, but he actually came down by himself. So Joe Nemechek, the lone car, down pit road. He led some laps. So he's got that he's got that going for him. They waited a while to come down pit road as well, too. So this might hurt him. This might not hurt him at all, but he's got to put in quite a bit of fuel if he wants to be able to make it to the next stop, or he's trying to maybe he's trying to go as long as he possibly could, so that maybe he wouldn't have to put in as much fuel for the second stop or for the final stop in this race. As we're being told right now that Casey Mears in the 41 is going to pit. We think Jason Keller's going to come down with him. There goes Mears and there goes Keller. They both come down, and Mark Martin does not come down with them. He actually stays out all by himself. He's going to try to go 1 more lap, try to stretch it 1 more. There you see on the bottom right, Mears and Keller. Keller gets into his pit stall first. He's well before Mears in the 41. But because of Mark Martin staying on an extra lap, not only did he not stay on the back bumper of Jimmy Johnson, or the back of this pack rather, but when he comes down pit road and off of pit road, he will not have any drafting help. He will lead, which is a good sign for Mark. The problem is, though, he will not have anybody to help him. So Mark Martin now has to really think about how he's going to blend onto the racetrack, but he's going to come down by himself. Here comes Mark Martin down pit road. But he is so far out ahead of the leaders. And funnily enough, the two drivers that came down pit road, Jason Keller and Casey Mears, they are still second and third. So they are a ways back. We saw Kenny Wallace not long ago. There's 3 more, which looks to be Mike Wallace, Hermie Sadler, and Ryan Newman. And then there's the next 5. All those drivers getting back on the lead lap. And now Mark Martin comes out of the pits all by himself. Now we're going to see where the other drivers are at, where the other leaders are at. As Mark comes out all by his lonesome off in no man's land. We look further back. We might see them appear. Yep, there they are. Casey Mears and Jason Keller just appeared on the top of the screen. But behind them, there's a big pack, or quite a big pack with Smithley. And behind that pack is another big pack with Robbie Gordon in the 1 car, and they just might catch him. As Smithley's going to be able to use the help from Buckshot Jones and Elliott Sadler to get closer to Keller and Mears, and there he goes, jumps to the outside. It jumps to the outside of Keller and Mears. The help, though, from Sadler and Buckshot kind of went away, though. But Smithley's going to carry that momentum. They're catching Mark Martin, though. Mark Martin, sitting duck. We mentioned it. Didn't have any drafting help. And in turn, he lost the lead. Not by much, though, but he lost the lead. That means now that Zachary Smithley is back out front at Talladega, with Elliott Sadler behind him in second, Keller in third, and Buckshot in fourth. And now with this tiny little group, now you have to wonder, will that big pack behind catch him? Look at McMurray in the 42. He had a big run in 3 and 4 to get to the back bumper of Kurt Busch. This pack might be okay, but then again, that other pack of cars, they have more. You can see how disorganized they are getting this first pack. See, Sadler takes the lead on the outside. Will he keep it, though? Buckshot's all in the middle by his lonesome. Zachary's going to take it right back away. Now, the main question is, the pits will open in 10 laps time. Not that much of a distance, it may seem like. Look at Dale Jr. in the 8 car. He had a big run going into 3 and 4. He almost took it all the way to the back bumper of Mark Martin, the 6. Couldn't really do much about it. But now, tucks in line behind Abe Blaney and Zachary Smithley. Still continuing to lead just ahead of Casey Mears in the 41 car. There's quite a bit of names in this group that we did not think would be contending for this win. Casey Mears in the 41 was one of them. Joe Nemechek at the 25 is now on the inside was one of them, and even Jason Keller in the 04 was another one of them. But even though we got some names that may not have been in contention, or we may not have thought that we're going to be competing for the race win towards the end of it, we have some names that we thought were at the beginning of the show that are still in contention. Those being Zachary Smithley in the 80, Kenseth in the 17, Buckshot in the 00, Kurt Busch in the 97. A little bit further back, you got Elliott Sadler in the 38, Mark Martin the 6, Tony Stewart in the 20, McMurray in the 42, Michael Waltrip in the 15, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car, And then you got 2 more behind him in Jeremy Mayfield in the 19 and Mike Skinner, who also is in contention. Well, here goes Kenseth to the outside. They got right around Joe Nemechek once more. But they kind of push Kenseth to the track a little bit, trying to break that toe, trying to prevent Mears from getting any form of momentum on the back of the 17, try to force him back a little bit. Zachary Smithley is able to stay out front just ahead of Dave Blaney in the 77. And with that, he's going to be able to hold on the bottom, but look at Kenseth, the 17. He's got pushed from the 25 of Joe Nemechek. Has been pretty good so far. Kenseth actually isn't the leader, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it. Kenseth's actually a lap down. I've been told now that Kenseth's actually a lap down. Nemechek was actually the one that led that time. So Smithley in the 80 car isn't actually fighting Matt Kenseth for the lead. However, he is fighting Nemechek, Andretti, and Dave Blaney as they go 3 wide with Matt Kenseth. And Joe Nemechek gets the better end of the deal as they go into 3. Or does Smithley get the better end of it? He goes to the inside. He stays on the inside. He grabs the lead back. Now he's got a bit of a gap to him and Dave Blaney. Here goes Dave Blaney right to the outside. Does Zach try to block it? They'll go drop right to the inside, right in front of Kurt Busch. Dave Blaney in front of Jamie McMurray in the 42. Trying to get that push. Didn't work out as well. Now Smithley trying to stay ahead of the 77. It doesn't have Dave Blaney up at the top, but we think that Dave Blaney might be in contention. Maybe Dave Blaney is. We'll have to get word from Tower because maybe Dave Blaney isn't in contention for this lead, but we kind of had this feeling that he was in contention for the lead. Smithley now in the 80 car holding it. He gets that lead from the 77 because, like I said, I think that Dave Blaney is actually in contention for the lead. I'm just not too sure why he didn't pop up on the top of the screen. But Smithley getting pushed from the Roush driver of Kurt Busch now has another Roush driver and Matt Kenseth just behind him. But on the outside is Jason Keller and Mark Martin pushing each other. When you think about it, you think this small group would have already been caught by the pack behind, but they have been. That's actually shocking. But as you can tell, Smithley maintaining the lead. He's got Kurt Busch just behind him. Kurt Busch still searching for that first one of the season. Look at Jason Keller dropping to the inside of Kurt Busch. It's almost like Jason Keller is acting like a veteran right now. He's a rookie, and he's acting like a veteran right now because he just dropped to the inside of Kurt Busch like he's done it before. That was a beautiful move by Jason Keller as they went into turn 3. Holy moly. He's still behind Zachary Smithley. He's here in the next 4 laps. The final pit window will, in fact, open. As there's Dave Blaney at the top of the screen. Had a feeling that Dave was a part of it. Not too sure why he was in the beginning, but now he is. Keller goes to the outside, but Smithley blocked him pretty good. He's even going to block him up the track, but Keller's going to continue that momentum on the outside. Zach gives it to him. Oh, he almost got in front of Dave Blaney, but he was too little too late. Dave Blaney out front once more, pushed by Jamie McMurray in the 42. Smithley drops him behind him. We think Kurt might go with him, and he does. Smithley goes back to the outside of Jamie. Smithley, I don't think, can carry the momentum long enough to get the lead. He's going to get close, but it won't be enough as Dave Blaney will lead the lap. Now here comes Jason Keller with the run on Smithley, trying to push him. Now it's getting interesting. Oh, looks like a little bit of contact between Smithley and McMurray. Smithley washed up the track a little bit. But if you look further back on that outside line, the DEI teammates of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Michael Waltrip are there. Now Waltrip tucks in on the inside. Here goes Smithley to the outside. Keller drops the bottom. He saw a gap was there in between Dave Blaney and Jay McMurray, and he took it. But they got to watch out because Dale Jarrett, the slow car, is coming up. They got to figure out a way around him. Dave Blaney doesn't go to the outside because Smithley held him there. Smithley back out front. Now with Mark Martin behind him in the 6th. Andretti in 3rd now. Casey Mears up to 4th. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 5th. That might pose a problem for Smithley, because yes, he had 150,000 Alabama fans cheering for him about 20 to 30 laps ago when he was leading, around 40 laps ago, I should say, when he was leading. But now with Dale Jr. out front, they don't care. They'll flip on you in a dime. Or they'll flip on you like a dime. But now Smithley trying to block Mark Martin's roll a little bit. He forced him to the outside enough. Jay McMurray actually tapped the wall a little bit going into turn 3. These cars, when they get to that outside line, they just have no grip. There's a bunch of marbles up there probably, so that's why they can't turn. We don't know how Smithley was able to make it work on the outside by himself earlier in the race, but he was able to. Because now they're catching the slow car of Jimmy Spencer in the 7. It's going to be big because they're going to have to find a way around him as fast as they can. Blaney went to the outside. That might actually work out well. Here goes Smithley jumping to the outside. Kurt follows him. Oh, and Kurt didn't follow Smithley all the way. Kurt got caught up behind Spencer. Blaney didn't. Neither did Mears, nor did Martin. So now the 4 leaders have swapped once again. Smithley's still out front, but Dave Blaney is fighting Casey Mears for second. Mears now goes to second. Martin in fourth, excuse me. Dave Blaney back to third. Here comes the lappers of Jimmy Spencer and Dale Jarrett. They're not really in the fight for the lead, but they can pose something as we head into the final 25 laps here at the EA Sports 500 at Talladega. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the final pit window is open. Drivers have already been making their pit stops, so this is going to be crucial for the end of the race. If who makes it, who's the first one out of this lead group to make a pit stop. They got a slow car going in front of him. Smithley actually trying to push Casey Mears up the track. I think he was trying to get side by side with Mears, but then he saw Sprague was going through the middle, so he dropped right to the inside. He actually helped himself and Casey Mears, and it worked out well for him. Now Smithley with a run on Mears. He takes the outside. He doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough room. Or not room, but he didn't have a big enough run. Now he's got to run on the outside, trying to grab the lead away once more. Coming to 24 laps to go at Talladega with a pit stop waiting for this group. And Smithley did in fact lead that time. Buckshot the 00, rearing his head back into the frame. As Casey Mears goes back out front, as you see another slow car and Christian Fittipaldi coming out of the pits. Seems like a lot of the drivers that were in that second group are coming out of the pits or making the pit stops earlier than usual. As you see, the bottom kind of gets checked up a little bit, but Smithley, Sadler, and Buckshot did not get stacked up at all. Seems like Mears actually kind of mitigated some of the time he was going to lose him to stack up a little bit. Because yes, he lost the lead, but he didn't lose that much time to second place Buckshot or first place Smithley. Now Mears back to the outside, trying to grab the lead once more as they head to the tri-oval. It will not be enough, and Smithley might be able to lead that time. We'll look at Mears. He's coming back at him. Smithley does still lead. But that does mean Mears still has that run. He's going to carry it, and he's going to check up a little bit as they went into 1 and 2. Here goes Buckshot going to the outside. Smithley blocks that run. He knows exactly what to do. But Smithley knows if he leaves that bottom open, and he's going to pit sometime soon, that's going to pose a problem for him. The drivers are actually catching more lap cars, or more cars, excuse me, actually coming out of the pits. There's Jimmy Johnson once again, Smithley's title protagonist. They're also catching Mike Skinner in the 4 and Kyle Petty in the 45. Terry Labonte in the 5 car just in front of him. As now Joe Nemechek is now in the top 4, excuse me now. The leader's going to run the lap cars pretty easily. Sadler actually forced Nemechek down behind Kyle Petty and slowed him up, preventing Nemechek from being able to get up and get behind Buckshot and pass Petty. As you see, Smithley gets to the outside of Terry Labonte. He'll complete the pass on him. Well, Spencer actually bobbing and weaving his way down the back straightaway. Not like Jimmy Spencer has a race to win or anything, considering the fact that right now he's a lap down. But Smithley back out front. As there's some takers right there at the back. Michael Waltrip and Jamie McMurray. Some more cars on pit road right now. drivers. A lot of them were out of that second group behind the leaders. It might work out for them in the end, though. As every line besides Smithly checked up going into 1 and 2. I don't know what happened for them to check up. I don't know if Smithly did anything or what, but every line from the bottom to the top all checked up. And now Smithly, the leader on the bottom. Kyle Petty, the leader in the middle. And on the outside, Casey Mears, the leader on the outside. Each driver leading their own line. Jimmy Spencer will now try to go lead the middle as Zachary Smithly continues to be on the bottom. I think Dale Jarrett tried going with him. Not too sure if Dale will go, but there goes Petty. If Dale was going to go with him, he ran out of time. 20 laps to go at Talladega. Smithly, Buckshot, Casey Mears, Joe Nemechek, Elliott Sadler, your top 5. Smithly continuing to hold that lead. We're thinking he might be pitting either this lap or the next lap. But you know you got to pit at some point because you're not going to be able to make it to the end. When these guys pit, they pit at around 50 to maybe 45, 40 laps to go. The fuel can only take you 30 laps. It can take you longer, though, if you savor it in the draft. There goes Smithly. Smithly comes down. He'll bring Dave Blaney with him. That'll hand the lead over to Joe Nemechek in the 25. Buckshot will be second. Casey Mears will be third. Elliott Sadler will be fourth. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be in fifth. Mark Martin also is there. He'll be sixth. Kurt Busch is in seventh. Tony Stewart in eighth. Don't want to forget about John Andretti, though. He'll be P9. And Robbie Gordon, I believe, all the way at the back. I think it might be Jeff Gordon now. He's going to be 10th. These guys are going to be catching back to slow cars. This is actually not Jeff Gordon. It's Bill Ellie in the 9. These leaders are going to be catching yet more slow cars as they head through 3 and 4. Don't know how fast they're going to catch them, but that's going to be a big problem for these leaders. But the other main question is, are any of the leaders going to pit? Here we go. Buckshot Jones, Elliott Sadler come down pit road. We think there was at least one more driver that came down pit road as well. As now the lead gets handed back over to Joe Nemechek in the 25. However, Casey Mears, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jason Keller are still a part of this group. We also think Mark Martin the 6. Yep, Mark Martin the 6 and John Andretti in the 43 are the other drivers that have not pitted so far. Whoa! Kyle Petty in the 45 tried dropping down in front of Jimmy Johnson, but in turn actually just stacked him up right behind the 18 of Bobby Labonte coming out of the pits. The league is given back to the 25 of Joe Nemechek. Jason Keller now up to second. Mears back to third and Earnhardt Jr. fourth. Now Junior pits. And we think John Andretti came with him. That'll move up Mark Martin to fifth. Or fourth, excuse me. Now the top 4 are the only drivers that have yet to pit. The other drivers that have yet to pit, 5th place Tony Stewart, and the 2 drivers behind them in Jeff Byrne, and we believe Ryan Newman in the 12th car. Could be another driver. But Jeff Byrne and we might think Ryan Newman are the only drivers that have yet to pit. 4 drivers coming out of the pits right now. First one, Kevin Harvick. There he is in the 29. He's in the middle. He might go back to the inside, though. It's going to pose a problem, though, I think, for Joe. But look at Harvick. He's actually running the middle line. He's actually catching Bill Ellie in the 9, who also came out of the pits. Jeff Green also came out in the AOL 30. None of the top 4 came down pit road. As Nemechek continuing to lead. They complete this lap, they'll have 15 laps to go in 1 lap's time. And these drivers still have got to make a stop. But they have to pit knowing that they can make it to the end with this final stop that they make. About to be 4 wide just behind, or just in front of Joe Nemechek, is now Casey Mears is leading. Behind him is Keller in the 04. Jared actually kind of slowed him up a little bit, but look at Nemechek continuing that momentum on the bottom. There goes Kenseth and Stewart. They both come into pits. So now that's 5th place coming in. We just saw Jeff Burton come in. That was 6th place. And we're thinking the other car that was behind Jeff Burton, which we're thinking was Ryan Newman, also came down pit road. Jerry Nadeau coming out of the pits. The drivers are catching 3 more slow cars just ahead of them. This is going to get interesting because now there's 15 laps to go. We know for a fact that these 4 leaders cannot make it to the end, but everyone else around them can. The only thing is when you come down pit road, you have to make sure you've put in enough fuel for the end. And like we mentioned earlier, imagine the story that could be told with Joe Nemechek leaving the 25 at season's end to go drive the number 09 car for Phoenix Racing, and in turn, he takes the checkered flag here at Talladega in his final Talladega race for Hendrick. We don't know if he'll stay in that 25 car for the remainder of the season, but we have a high chance, or there's a high chance that he'll stay in the 25 car for the remainder of 2003 before he goes to the number 09 car for 2004. As they're catching Bill's teammate Jeremy Mayfield, who came out of the pits. Oh, Joe, we actually went in the middle. That could have been that ended up being the worst thing, or the worst decision that Nemechek could have made. So Nemechek, even though he went in the middle, he actually was able to stay back on the bottom. What in the world? Got a little bit squirrely as they came into the trial vault, almost hitting Kyle Petty about 3 times. But once more, Nemechek, Keller, Mears, and Martin stay out. They got 13 laps, and everybody knows, everybody and their grandmother knows, these drivers cannot make it. These 4 leaders cannot make it. Everybody else around them can, the leaders cannot. This is going to be big, but this is also going to be crucial. Because to be honest, these drivers, they might be trying to push it a little bit so they can take only a little bit of fuel, and it's only just the 4 of them fighting it out for the win. Now, they could be doing that, and it could work. But like I said, you have to put in enough fuel to be able to make it work. Because you can't just put in a splash of fuel and go, because what if you didn't put in enough fuel? Then you won't be able to execute the plan of staying out longer and being able to make it to the end on whatever you got. We're thinking that the front 4 might be doing that. They got 12 laps. Next time will be 11. Nemechek actually goes to the outside, so Nemechek definitely is not pitting this time. Mears is on the outside. Mark Martin is the only one of the 4 on the bottom. Keller is also on the outside. There goes Nemechek. He actually dropped back down to the inside. There he goes. He dropped to the inside. So that might be the cue that he might be coming down, but they got 11 to go. He might be coming in with 10 to go. Who knows? He might be coming in this lap. It might be this time for Nemechek, and it could be the same. It could be this time for also Martin, Mears, and Keller. Look at Mears. He's on the bottom. Mark Martin is on the bottom. Jason Keller is not. 3 out of the 4 leaders are on the bottom of the racetrack. One of them is on the outside. They each know that if they pit now, they could take a little bit of fuel to make it to the end of the race. But they got to put enough in. If they could do that, then it'll be big. Here comes Nemechek. Here comes Mears. Mears and Nemechek both come in. Martin and Keller both stay out. Now there's 10 laps to go here at Talladega. In these final 10 laps, anything can happen. As we're getting the word that Mark Martin and Jason Keller will be coming in this time. Martin's crew chief is telling him to slow up a little bit to get to the bottom. Keller is being told to stay behind Mark Martin. You're both coming in. Seems like Keller's team wants to go into the pits with Mark Martin and leave with Mark Martin. They know that they both have a big shot, a big chance to win this race. And they're going to execute it right here, right now. There goes Martin, and there goes Keller. Both the leaders down pit road. Some drivers may have taken tires, others may not have, but we know for a fact that these two right here, right now, they're going to take fuel. They're going to take as little as fuel as possible and get back out there. Look at Keller in the back. Stay for a little bit long, but it's okay. He got back out. Mark Martin is in. Mark Martin doesn't stay long either, and they're both out and away. Now, was that enough fuel for Mark Martin? Because he didn't really stay in his pits as long as Keller did. Keller actually gained some time on Mark Martin a little bit. There's a bunch of cars passing Mark Martin and Jason Keller that just got their lap back. Now this is where it's going to be interesting. This is where things are going to heat up. We have 9 laps to go here at Talladega. And the win just directly in front of Mark Martin and Jason Keller, but they're both split from one another. Joe Nemechek is way far out ahead of Casey Mears. Casey Mears is actually close to the pack behind him. How big of a problem will this pose for the drivers behind? The crowd knows it. They're going wild. As there you see Zachary Smithley. He passed Mears at some point. There's Casey Mears back there behind Jay McMurray, his teammate, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car. Zachary and his pack could catch these 3 cars, but they have 8 laps to do it. Here comes Keller to the outside of Mark Martin, trying to grab the lead away. Will this be big for Keller? Will this be detrimental? Here goes Keller. Can he get in front of Mark Martin? A first career win lies in front of Keller. He can't get in front of Martin, though. He needed more help. He needed more momentum, and he couldn't complete the pass. But remember, in doing so, in doing this, it's going to rope in Joe Nemechek in the big pack behind. Keller drops in behind Mark Martin. Smithley, Gordon, they caught Nemechek. They passed Nemechek. Gordon is not in this fight. Matt Kenseth is not in this fight. They each are not in this fight. They are a lap down or more. Zachary Smithley, we all know the story. He is trying to win this race. He wants that redemption, but he's got to catch these 2 cars that are also having a story building for him. Mark Martin, in recent weeks, has dominated races and has come so close to winning. Today could be the day. Keller has come so close to winning races. And in another outing for Morgan McClure Racing in the number 04 car, this is Keller's chance and big shot. But the 2-car tango of Mark Martin and Jason Keller is very different to this, though. The pack led by Zachary Smithley. This pack is going to be carrying a bunch of pace, a bunch of speed. They're going to be coming at the front 2 at a full head of steam. They know it. The pack knows it. Martin and Keller know it. The fans know it. The crew chiefs and spotters know it. All that Smithley's spotter is telling him to do right now: keep that 25 car behind you. We can get those 2 in front of you. Oh, here goes Keller back to the outside. It looked like he was trying to peek it a little bit. The more Keller does that, the more it ropes in Smithley in the pack behind him. This is going to be big. This is going to be huge. As they come off of turn 4, the pack is closing in on them. These 2 leaders and the pack behind are coming to 5 laps to go at Talladega. The 2-car tango could work. It mainly benefits Mark Martin more than Jason Keller, but it benefits either way. Smithley trying to keep Joe Nemechek behind, not because he doesn't want him to pass him. He just wants Nemechek to push him to the 2 leaders. They know they have a shot if none of the drivers behind him make an attempt at a pass. Zach knows this. Nemechek knows this. That's why Nemechek is staying behind Smithley. Here comes Michael Waltrip. He kind of peeked to the inside of Jeff Gordon a little bit. Remember, Waltrip trying to ease now he has the best chance to win this final player race for DEI. But like we said, they have to catch the guys ahead. Behind him, Casey Mears trying to go for a win. He's got a good shot. Tony Stewart in the 20 does. Jay McMurray, Buckshot Jones, Kurt Busch, Elias Sadler, Dale Earnhardt Jr. even, and Jeff Burton all have a big chance to catch the leaders. The opportunity awaits with 4 laps remaining. They have 4 laps to catch the leaders. It's go time now. The main thing you got to do within these 4 laps, you got to be all over the back of the guy behind, or the guy in front of you. You got to be pushing him to the front. If you're Smithley, you're going to want to bank on that, but Smithley and Nemechek, they're pulling away. Is that... Nemechek is pitting. Joe Nemechek is pitting. Nemechek didn't put in enough fuel. That's going to pose a problem for Martin and Keller. Yes, they're the only 2 leading, but that's a problem, though. I say that because Nemechek only pitted 1 lap before they did. Did Martin and Keller get more fuel? Smithley's all alone now. With this now almost guarantees it's between Martin and Keller, unless someone like Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth can catch Smithley quick enough. It seems like Elias Sadler and Jeff Burton are out of contention. They're way too far back. Here comes the help that Smithley needs from Matt Kenseth in the 17. Or does Kenseth take the run to the outside? He takes it to the outside. The reason why? Kenseth knows his teammate is leading. He wants his teammate to win. 2 Roush Racing drivers have yet to win. Mark Martin's opportunity lies in front of him at the end of these final 2 laps. That's why Kenseth didn't go with Smithley. But Jason Keller in the 04 car, what does he do now? Does Keller try to make the move now, or does he wait till a good opportunity? Keller can't quite back up and try to get a run on Mark Martin. He might actually be able to now that I think about it, because it's literally just these 2. They're the only 2 cars. They're the only 2 leaders right now. But once more, Smithley is now catching them again. Pushed by Buckshot Jones. Buckshot pushing Smithley. They're catching him ever so slightly. 150,000 Alabama fans are about to see a wow finish at Talladega. White flag one more time at Talladega. Martin's first win of 2003 lies in front of him. Keller's first career win. Morgan McClure's first win lies in front of him. They're catching cars coming out of the pits, the first one being Kyle Petty. How will the 2 navigate them? Where will Martin go? Where will Keller go? Where will Kyle Petty go even? Petty hangs it to the bottom. Martin and Keller go to the outside. They're going to try everything they possibly can to get around Kyle Petty. But look behind him. Smithley's got the run. He's got the run. He's got Buckshot behind him. They pass Petty. Here comes Keller to the outside of Martin. He's going to go for it. Here comes Smithley. Smithley goes to the inside. Smithley passed him. They make contact. Zachary Smithley, redemption's made. Zachary Smithley wins the EA Sports 500 at Talladega. But it's questionable, though. Smithley passed Keller and Martin below the yellow line. He passed him below the yellow line. The crowd may have went wild. Smithley may be the winner at the top of the screen, but we have to see the replay. That was close. Smithley went to the inside. Let's see it. Here's the replay coming to the line. Keller goes to the outside. Oh, that's borderline. Oh, that's borderline. That's borderline with Smithley. That is close. That is close. Here it is in slow-mo. Bit of a different camera angle coming to the start-finish line. Smithley goes below the yellow line. Remember, you cannot advance your position if you go below the yellow line. But Smithley, he came back up pretty close. I don't think... We might need the other angle. I don't think Smithley passed Martin and Keller when he was below the yellow line. I think he was coming back up the track and made the pass. That's close, though. And there you see Smithley crossing the start-finish line. Here's that other angle. There goes Smithley below the line. All 4 tires below it. He starts coming back up the track right about here. You see him start coming up the track. Oh, that is close. That is close. We'll have to wait for word from NASCAR on their decision. But this just might have just gone to Zachary Smithley. You hear it from the crowd. The Alabama fans are rooting for Smithley. They've rooted for him all day, and it's true. The win stands. Zachary Smithley gets his redemption a year on from finishing 6th on the 2-year anniversary of his grandmother's passing, and that is the picture that NASCAR is using to determine when Smithley passed Mark Martin and Jason Keller. They're saying that because his left side tires weren't below the second solid yellow line, the win is his. It stands, and Zachary Smithley gets redemption for real this time. Holy moly. What a finish. What a race. What a fantastic race. That was just special. That was awesome. That was just awesome. Oh, that finish might be controversial to some. But to be honest, once more, we have yet another exciting finish on a plate race. And what better place to do it than here at Talladega Superspeedway. Oh my God. Holy moly. Man. Don't get any better than that. Don't get any better than that. And with that, we can safely say that Zachary Smithley is now a 10-time winner of 2003. Zachary Smithley has hit the double digits in the wins column in one season. He has had such a phenomenal rookie season, and to be honest with you, I don't know if anybody could complain about it. He is probably one of the best rookies we've had in modern day NASCAR. Far none. Far none. Well, after that exciting finish, let's go on ahead and take a look at the finishing results coming out of today's race here at Talladega. So, like we said, and like we showed, it was close. NASCAR came to the decision that he passed Mark Martin and Jason Keller when he came back up the track, and he only had one set of tires below one solid yellow line, when he was a little bit ahead of Martin, and NASCAR says that is enough for the win to stand. So Zachary Smithley wins his second plate race of 2003. He gets his redemption 1 year on from the heartbreak of the Aaron's 499 1 year ago. And Zachary Smithley can finally say he's won at Talladega. And once more, he did it for one person, that being his grandmother. Job well done, Zachary Smithley. The second is Jason Keller with a heartbreaking second. Jason Keller and a bunch of other drivers do not agree with the ruling, but the decision was made. NASCAR made the decision, and it stands. And unfortunately, yes, it takes away Jason Keller's first career win. To be honest with you, we think he's going to have more in the future. You can bet your bottom dollar he'll have a shot once more in the future. And Buckshot Jones with his best finish of the season in third. Mark Martin with another heartbreaking fourth. Michael Waltrip in fifth. John Andretti in sixth. Dale Earnhardt Jr. seventh. Jay McMurray in eighth. Tony Stewart in ninth. And Elliott Sadler rounds out the top 10. They got Jeff Byrne in 11th. Jeff Green 12th. Ricky Craven 13th. Robbie Gordon in 14th. Terry Labonte in 15th. Ricky Russ 16th, Kevin Harvick 17th, Bob Labonte in 18th, Jimmy Johnson in 19th, and Jimmy Spencer rounds out the top 20. So Jimmy Johnson, in his fight for the championship, even though Smithley won and gains 185 points, he'll lose 79 points to Smithley, but he can make that up, and there's still 9 races left after today. A lot of tracks that Jimmy's done well at, and there's a high chance that we will probably see Jimmy Johnson take it to Zachary Smithley in these final 9 races, as well as his teammate Jeff Gordon and Zachary's boss. We'll see them when we get there. Then you got Christian Fittipaldi finishing 21st, Casey Mears 22nd, Dave Blaney 23rd, Mike Wallace 24th, Rusty Wallace 25th, Kenny Wallace 26th, and all Wallace 24th through 26th. You got Cherry Nadeau in 27th, Sterling Marlin 28th, Hermie Sadler 29th, and Tony Raines running out the top 30. And you got Greg Biffle 31st, Ryan Newman 32nd, Joe Nemechek, who was in contention there towards the end, finishes in 33rd, Dale Jarrett 34th, Kurt Busch in 35th. He was also in contention and pitted towards the end. Matt Kenseth in 36th, Jeff Gordon 37th. That's going to be a huge blow in the points for Jeff Gordon. That is insane how many points he's going to lose. Then you got Johnny Benson 38th, Jeremy Mayfield 39th, and Bill Elliott rounding out the top 40. Then the final 3 finishing positions of Jack Sprague in 41st, Mike Skinner in 42nd, and Kyle Petty in 43rd. Ugh. What a race. What a race. What a race. What a finish. What a finish. That it's going to be difficult now figuring out what my best race finish call will be, because that kind of rivals the Rowdy Forever 400 that we did in Michigan about a few months ago. So, that's going to be hard to figure out which one I think, in my opinion, is my best call to the flag play-by-play finish that I've ever done. Like, far none. So, other than that, I think, we'll get there when we get there. But now, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the updated point standings coming out of today's race here at Talladega. So, coming out of Talladega, Zachary Smithley is the sole driver to reach 4,000 points, ahead of Jimmy Johnson, now in second place. The gap now from point leader Zachary Smithley to second place Jimmy Johnson is a whopping 534 points. The largest points gap from first to second that we have had thus far this season. Then you got Jeff Gordon down in 3rd, Ryan Newman in 4th, Matt Kenseth in 5th, Ricky Russ 6th, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 7th, Kevin Harvick in 8th, Jeff Green in 9th, and Jamie McMurray, for the first time this season, has cracked the top 10. Well done to Jamie McMurray. Then you got Jeff Byrne in 11th, Kurt Busch in 12th, Mark Martin up to 13th, Tony Stewart up to 14th, Bill Elliott down in 15th, Dale Jarrett 16th, Bobby Labonte in 17th, Michael Waltrip in 18th, Jerry Nadeau in 19th, and Jeremy Mayfield running out the top 20. Then you got Terry Labonte 21st, Sterling Marlin 22nd, Rusty Wallace 23rd, Greg Biffle 24th, Elliott Sadler up to 25th, John Andretti 26th, Tony Raines back on the up in 27th, Joe Nemechek 28th, Robbie Gordon at 29th, and Casey Mears rounding out the top 30. You got Dave Blaney 31st, Johnny Benson 32nd, Ricky Craven 33rd, Kenny Walson 34th, Kyle Petty 35th, Steve Park 36th, Ward Burton 37th, Jimmy Spencer 38th, Top 9 39th, and Ken Schrader in 40th. Then you got Larry Foy in 41st, Mike Skinner 42nd, Jack Sprague now at 1,000 points in 43rd, Jason Keller almost at 1,000 points in 44th, Mike Wallace in 45th, Christian Fittipaldi 46th, Scott Pruitt 47th, Hermie Sadler in 48th, Buckshot Jones in 49th, and Casey Atwood in 50th. Then you got Boris Said in 51st, Kerry Earnhardt 52nd, Shelby Howard 53rd, Derek Cope 54th, Brett Bodine 55th, Hideo Fukuyama, there we go, 56th, Kirk Shelmerdine 57th, Bobby Hamilton Jr. 58th, Kevin LePage 59th, and Morgan Shepherd in 60th, and finally in 61st position, David Green. Can you believe what we have just seen? Can you believe it? Because I barely can. I barely can. And I'm the one that did the play-by-play version and the in-car version 2 weeks ago. But still, I barely remember this race, and that still gave me chills. It still made me shake. That was an amazing finish. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how NASCAR races should A, always be called, B, the enthusiasm every race should every commentator should have, and C, how every race should feel like it's going to end. I'm not saying it should end like that all the time, but it should feel like that. Especially at a plate race. NASCAR take notes. But that is going to do it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you guys did, leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for some more. The next race will be the Sylvania 300 at the New Hampshire International Speedway. Now we got to go through New Hampshire and Dover before we could finally actually, get onto the right parts of the season, which is starting after Dover next time out. So that should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited, actually. Looking forward to it. But 9 races remain, ladies and gentlemen, in this 2003 season. 9 more in-car versions, 9 more play-by-play versions. And I hope you guys are excited for it, because I already know I am too. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day, everyone. I love you oh so very much, and goodbye.